When considering what makes a good DM, does creativity matter? I would say yes, it does, but it doesn't matter as much as you would think. I would say that a DM whose focus is making sure the players have a really good experience, that's way more important than being a creative DM. Now, with bad DMs, in my experience, is always the same thing. A bad DM is always focused on their own fun as the DM, whether that be somebody who's not very creative at all and just goes by a rule book and is maybe a rules lawyer, or just somebody who, they're more concerned with them running the game than what kind of game the players have. And a creative bad DM is going to do the same thing, but then you're probably going to run into a DM who homebrews too much and is focused more on telling his story than considering if the players are having a good experience. So, creativity really doesn't play into whether somebody's going to be a good DM or a bad DM. It really doesn't, because the focus always should be, are the players having a good time? Are the players having fun? And more importantly, are the players engaged? I am a big advocate of having new players and new DMs play through at least 2 sessions with the vanilla rules, just so everybody gets a feel for what the Wizards of the Coast was going for. And then after that, if you want to start changing things a little bit, you should. Since I do that, I think a lot of people assume that I'm the sort of guy who just always runs everything by the book and doesn't do anything unique. That's not true. I actually run a lot of games. One of my most successful games was a game that I ran a dungeon where players got to pick all these weird monsters that they were going to play. So I did stuff where people got to pick, like they were going to play an owlbear hatchling, or they were going to play a bucket mimic, or they were going to play a slime. And so people had all these weird choices, and they ended up having a blast. Now, I did consider, well, what if players want to play just a regular human adventurer or just a regular PC? Then yeah, I had those available. Nobody took me up on that. So that wasn't one of the best games. But I think it had less to do with the actual creative stuff that I put in there, and more to do with I made sure that creative stuff, I put a really, really hard lens on myself and said, hey, this stuff, will this actually make the game more fun? Or am I putting this stuff in there because I think it's cool? So creativity. So who would be my ideal DM? Would it be somebody like Matt Mercer or Chris Perkins? Would it be somebody like Griffin McElroy? Would it be Chris Perkins' dog? No. My ideal DM is just some random dude who I met when I was living in New York, and he was the best DM I've ever played a game with. And frankly, he started off, he didn't want to DM because he was a person who had some self-esteem issues, so he always felt he wasn't good enough. And he always felt, actually, that he wasn't creative enough to fill the role as the DM. But he did eventually, after a long time, he did eventually run a game, and it was really good. But you know what? He was right. He wasn't that creative when he first started off. He wasn't that creative at all. However, we still had really good games because he cared so much about making sure the players were having an engaging experience. So just the sessions moved right along. It was fun. There was a lot of involvement with the players, and he really put a lot of time and effort into the games. And that really made up for his lack of creativity at the start of it. So later on, he built up that creativity. And as he gained confidence in his game, that started to get more and more and more until, he is the best DM that I've ever played with, period. End of sentence. I would honestly choose him over any other DM out there. So, yeah. So that's a really good example of somebody whose creativity really was fostered. And that's something you have to do, too. Because if you kind of say that creativity is so important, that's not going to really stop what people would consider bad DMs or somebody who shouldn't be a DM. Bad DMs generally, if they're the DM who is the sort of rules lawyer DM who just always goes by the book and doesn't care about what the players are doing, he's not going to be affected by anybody saying, hey, you need to be creative to be a DM. And the DMs who overdo it on the homebrew, who are so so navel gazing so much, and they're looking right into their own game, and they're so focused on that they don't even know that the players are there. Those guys aren't going to be influenced because they'll say, well, I'm being very, very creative. So obviously there's no issues there. I'm not a bad DM. I'm the most creative person ever. I put all this work into this game. So obviously I can't be a bad DM. I'm creative. Honestly, creativity is something that can be fostered in any DM. And the more important thing is just are your players having fun? Are your players engaged? And that's really where I'm going to leave it here, because I just wanted to do a quick talk about this for no particular reason. But when it comes to creativity in DMing Dungeons and Dragons, I think it's far, far more important to make sure that you're like that DM that I met before. While we're growing the community in D&D, it's really important to let people who maybe aren't sure that they're good enough, maybe they think they're not creative enough to be a DM. You really need to realize that somebody like that can actually turn out to be a really, really good DM. But you have to kind of foster that. And again, it keeps on going back to my thing of you should just run a couple sessions of a vanilla game. And I think that'll really help everybody kind of click as a team, both the players and the DM. So that's my opinion on creativity when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. Starting off, you do not have to be creative. You can go out into the store and buy the basic rules. You can go and pay money and get the product and take that home and run that vanilla, and that'll give you a really good experience for you to start out the game. And again, if there's a better way of doing that, I don't know what that might be. But as far as I can see, that seems to be the best way to get more DMs interested in the hobby. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching the video. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching the video. I'm Griffin McElroy. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching the video. My brother Travis is much better than me at D&D. Can't wait for the next season of Adventure Zone when we finally get a competent DM. Oh, shit, son!